G'day, I'm Andy. Welcome to Food for Survival on Magnetic Island. When you're thinking about growing food for survival and consumption, there's three things that you need, three key things. One is a leafy green, two is some sort of carbohydrate, and the third one is protein. The problem with growing a plant for carbohydrate on Magnetic Island is we have a huge number of possums, wallabies and other insects which will eat sweet potatoes and other things that you might be trying to grow for carbohydrate. One plant that gets around that problem is cassava. It has its own inbuilt herbivore defense. It's grown all through Africa, Papua New Guinea and the Solomons, and it's actually an ideal plant to grow for carbohydrate here on Magnetic Island. So we're going to look at some cassava growing in my garden. We're going to dig a bit up, see the root, and talk about how to then reprocess it and replant it in your garden. So this is cassava growing in the garden, and you'll notice there's almost no herbivore damage at all. So this plant produces its own anti-herbivore defense, produces a glucose cyanide, which is in the leaves and it's in the roots. So you must cook this thing. As soon as you cook it, it's safe to eat. But the great thing about growing it in North Queensland is it means the wallabies and the possums and the grasshoppers can't eat it. So it's the super carbohydrate, and it's grown all around the island countries to our north. So when it comes time to harvesting these things, you come down to the base of the plant and work your way along. Just carefully expose the roots, and you can see what the plant does is it's thickening up all these branching roots into tubers, and so these are the ones that you harvest and eat. They'll get a lot bigger than this. Obviously we haven't had much rain here yet, so the plant's been struggling to lay down carbohydrate, but you can just take off one of those as needed and then cover the rest up and the plant will keep going. So after you've dug your cassava up, you can replant all these top bits like so. Just take your trusty bush knife, and we found on Magnetic Island, to avoid the wallabies eating the young growth, even though it's toxic, they will nibble at it, cut these stalks fairly long so the growing tips up above wallaby height. So about that's good. You see it's about chest height, and then what you want to do is take off most of these leaves so that it doesn't water stress the plant in the time it takes it to set its roots. So we'll do that now. So you just want to trim that branch back till it's just really got the growing tip, and then just stick it straight in the ground and give it some water and they will grow. They're very, very hardy, very robust, and we found that if you start them about that high, sort of gives them a good start. So after you've harvested the root, the branchlets all get prepared and go back in the ground. So that plant is now going to produce another 5, and that's the system. And there's all the branch tops trimmed down of their main leaves, and when the soil's wet like this, these will take off. They're virtually impossible to kill. Cassava is one of those super plants. It grows fast, it doesn't need much water, it's drought proof, it's insect proof, it produces a leafy green, it produces a carbohydrate, and it's being used for biofuel now. So it's a logical plant to be growing on Magnetic Island, and we should be growing more of it. It does have a 7-fingered leaf like that other super plant, cannabis, but there's no serrations on the leaf of this thing, so you can grow it in your garden without fear of being persecuted. So I hope you've enjoyed this segment on how to grow cassava on Magnetic Island. And of course, one thing you can do is get some fertilizer onto it, which we're doing here. You get into your good old chook pen with your trusty shovel, and you shovel up that chook shit. Get a good bucket of it. digested in water, and then once a week you get that onto your crop, and so you're completing a circuit within your permaculture system. If you'd like to get some cuttings of cassava, just get in touch with me and I'll find some for you. Enjoy.